Hello guys, let us watch a video. Let us watch something interesting that I wanted to show you. But first of all, Happy New Year. Thank you very much for watching. So how was your new year? What have you been doing? Was it was it a good show or was it a good experience that you did? Please share. Or if you want to promote the experience, please tell us what was it about. Was it like a firecracker show, or was it spending a night at a different country, or going out? What are your tips? That's what I mean. If you get a very good idea, or maybe a warning, the other way around. Okay, don't do this, don't do that. There's a better way of doing it. Okay, so I think I want to this video. It's about it's last year's video, and it's about um a ghost town. Ghost town. So Sydney is one of the main city in Australia. If not, it's like New York in America for Americans. Sydney is like Jakarta in Indonesia, like the main city, like the Manila. Maybe not the capital, but like one of the most expensive business district. But let's see what's happening there.
Heart of a community, but right across the country, suburban shopping strips are dying. These days, there are more for lease signs than there are shoppers, and family businesses that thrived for decades are closing their doors.
We're struggling. There's for lease signs everywhere.
There's no way people gonna come. They need to do more.
It's been quite sad to see a lot of businesses closing, a lot of cafes and small businesses. It's definitely kind of decreased the vibrancy.
So if you guys have watched Food Wars, the anime about cooking show, cooking competition, it's pretty edgy or pretty sexy, but it's interesting, and it has a lot of actual recipes there that are ingenious that you guys can try. And in an episode of Food Wars, Yukihira Soma, the main character, uh, tried to help local businesses to compete against the like major mall like that opened near the area. So the development of a technology and business models definitely had brought in new competition against the traditional way of doing business. I think it's happening. It's a common formula of problems that is happening in many different places, I believe. So maybe this is one of them, but every place has its own nuances.
Once home to bustling businesses, now many along Norton Street are fighting to stay afloat.
We've lost the Italian vibe. It's not like it used to be.
Known as the heart of Sydney's Little Italy, thousands of migrants moved to Leichhardt in the 1950s for a better life.
People would walk around with their families, their children, with their prams, and it was just fun.
Gina has been running this clothing and toy store for 50 years.
It was all like milk bars and fruit shop. My uncle owned a fruit shop. It was really a fantastic time. But now things have changed.
Today, it's a ghost town. Michael from Happy Seafood, now sad.
So Italian vibe in a different country, guys. That's starting to not happen again. What a waste.
Because
Family, mom and dad who working hard. There's no traffic. And by saying that, also the economic is not improving too. A lot of the produce that we can get it, mostly so expensive.
more than a dozen empty shops have for sale or for lease signs, some sitting vacant for years.
I think landlords are getting greedy and businesses that have got the landlord who keeps putting the rent up have to put the prices up on their food and inflation. And I feel for them.
Con owns Bar Italia. He tells me his landlord has been understanding, but the business owner next door wasn't.
So Bar Italia, if you look at that, like authentic Italian coffee, don't you think, you know what, eating spaghetti outdoors? I might have never been in Europe, but probably if I go to that place, uh, I would I would be able to experience a little sprinkle of that vacation. And now it's going to be less of an experience than before. It is such a waste. And they're talking about the prices being increasing. Yes, I think the same thing is happening in Tokyo, same thing happening in Hong Kong, Jakarta, and Singapore. All of these major cities have massive increase in rent and mortgage payment. Why is that the case? I think it's not only because people come want to come and buy land and to live there, because it is nice to have like a wholesale municipalities, like the fireworks, the internet, and the department stores, and all of these facilities are being provided to the masses, so they scale economically scale well. So that's why people, it is a good idea to live among many people, like the merit of presence, that's my term for that. It can increase the land prices, but I do have, like, in the share market, do you see how prices of uh, prices of companies increased, not based on the fundamentals. You can see the prices of a company could raise 30 times to 40 times of what is in the financial statement. Now you would wonder, why is that the case? And probably a sentiment of that, an element of that also correlates of what is happening in the property market. So I think, was it a speculation? In what form of the speculation? But it is happening all around the world, guys. So it is a pretty prominent financial issue right here. And I do believe there are elements of that that are unnatural, and that needs more scrutiny.
So lucky.
He put a rent up and she moved down the road. The space has been empty now for a year. So he's got 1 year of no rent.
One of the major problems has been a significant number of landlords who are not willing to keep their properties tenanted. They're using them as a tax write-off.
Inner West Council Mayor Darcy Byrne is frustrated some landlords are keeping their businesses empty rather than risking a lower return.
For all of the other property owners and business owners along the strip, when you have 4 empty shop fronts like this for such a long period of time, it has a detrimental impact on their livelihood as well. And it really brings down the tone of the entire main street.
This is the Italian Forum. It was designed to be a cultural hub, a place where people could eat, drink, shop, and even live. This place should be full of customers,
Wow.
but now it's eerily quiet and has become a symbol of urban decay. When was this place thriving?
For the first couple of years after it opened at the turn.
So did you guys saw that emptiness? It's like watching a studio set that has finished filming, guys, probably.
Of the century, it was really fun and vibrant and interesting. But it's been a long time since then. And the fact that everyone knows that so many of the shop fronts are empty and have been for a long time makes it difficult to turn things around.
The Mayor is now calling on the New South Wales Premier to introduce a vacancy tax so landlords would be rewarded for leasing to local businesses.
We're simply trying.
So vacancy tax, I assume it means that if you're leasing, you will not be taxed as much. compared to if you're just letting your property price increase like that. If you let your property, I'm not going to elaborate more.
Trying to reduce rates for Main Street property owners who keep their shop fronts tenanted and pay for that by increasing rates by the same amount for landlords who are not doing the right thing.
I agree. Yes, do it. Just don't talk about it. Just push it.
The vacancy
do
tax
it.
makes sense to me. You need to be rewarding small businesses over people who are just leaving their shops empty.
But the New South Wales Small Business Commissioner argues it's not a silver bullet for bringing back the streetscapes, and one solution would be to approve more residential developments to build a client base closer to stores.
The council should be considering making parking and everything a lot easier so people will come.
Bring in musicians.
So I do notice, like there's this issue where medical workers are actually having difficulty with their psychological issues and their finances, and there are ideas to put them together in a subsidized housing, or for example with not exactly subsidy. I hope also not only subsidies, but also other facilities such as lower taxes. And I don't think, look, it is a subsidy as well, but I don't mean like direct payment or direct credit or something like that, but it's other facilities as well that is normal, that came from the economy, because there's some aspect of taxes, especially taxes, is really artificial. It is an initiative to do something, to nudge something of the economy. It is not exactly free market. If it is free market, things would be a lot cheaper. Like, for example, if you put in VAT into prices of products, it would be artificially increased. Not saying that it is bad or not, but it is an initiative, like a human intervention. But if you leave the macro intervention, if you leave the market, which consists of human beings, just all by itself, there's going to be, of course, less costs, like more like free market. That is the idea. But also there probably going to be slavery. Okay, so I'm not fully all about pure free market and stuff. I am still agnostic about whether at the end of the day it will work out. But if it is for the medical worker, to let that go, to let it happen for the benefit of them, or you would nudge things differently for them compared to other people, I would agree for that. I would think that is kind of nice. And if you have like these facilities or this concentration of like a specialized people, or special people who are being paid attention differently by the government, it's not because they are disabled, not because they are not contributing, refers to that they've contributed crazy amount and haven't been rewarded as much as some other people. So we want to give them more because we need them. Like, imagine a pandemic situation without them. Or we want to empower them, right? And also to give thanks to them, just the way how economy would work, right? And the concentration of these people in an area would definitely going to help boost up the economy. I do have some other ideas, but let's talk about that at the next or later.
And craft fairs, make it like a marketplace, where there's markets and people bring stalls out. The number of businesses who want to lease retail properties in the area has dropped by 23% compared to last year. Sadly, this isn't the only shopping strip feeling the pain. Not long ago, a current affair visited Mario, a restaurateur from Ipswich, west of Brisbane, who took his frustration to social media.
This is what's happening to our country. All the way along here, empty shops. This country is a joke, absolute joke. We can do better.
Back at Norton Street, small business operators here just want a fair go.
You can't squeeze an orange when there's no more juice.
It's draining us. Landlord doesn't help, council doesn't help. They need to work up something.
It's a tough problem to fix, isn't it? The New South Wales government is promising to look into the issue, but with a state election coming up in March, nobody's expecting much to change anytime soon.
So that is the current affair, I believe, from 7 News. Or 7 News, let me check it out. A current affair from, I forgot. Was it, I think, 9. 9. I'm sorry, that's from Channel 9. Channel 9. My bad. Okay. That's so guys, all right, I'm sorry about that. And then lastly, you guys saw that the area is pretty empty, and that is weird, right? Because when facing with the urbanization problem, you would expect overpopulation. When you see rising prices with rents, you would expect there are a lot of demands, right? You would expect a lot of people. But what's happening is like not a lot of people, just a lot of investment. Just a lot of investment. Isn't that weird? It is not the demand the from the quantity side, but it's more of a quality side. So you know what I mean. That is a big problem, but I kind of thought about, I want to share about how to mitigate it a little bit. I think you should um, subsidize receipts. Everyone that has a community will have transaction within the community, and I think every transaction would have its financial marks, whether you can gather it from the banks, or some people actually collected receipts to control their finances. Now, based on the transaction, based on the receipts, you would subsidize them. So what it's going to do is that it will prevent things like this from happening, in a way that local community, local economy is being subsidized, is being paid attention more, right? Because this like white brushing of subsidy, white brushing of policies is going to attract targets that are not initially targeted. You know what I mean? The people who benefited that are not initially what they had in mind in the first place when they wanted to build up a subsidy. So using receipts is actually something that you should consider. And you would if you're a centralized government and you want to subsidize this with money, you would give money to the local government or the local councils, and then from the local councils you would distribute money. I mean, why is it all of the problem is solved by just distributing money? Isn't that just a waste? Isn't that superficial? I don't think so, because if you really need it, if you're in that situation, just cash could actually help, could really help to boost out the economy, just cash. And what is the meritocracy in that? Yes, there are meritocracy because their presence and their transaction as a community actually what makes up the government. Okay, and the government is the one that gives the currency, the one that is the authors of the currencies, right? So they are the made up, like they are the components of the government. If not in the future, in the past, right? So economy is all about take and give. So philosophically speaking, I don't think this is communistic or socialistic like that. I don't think this is going to fail. That's what I mean. And if you're being meritocratic, you would invite contribution, and this is the contribution you're going to invite, because if a person is being remembered as a part of the economy, the person would want to be a part of the economy more. And the way you remember them is through the receipts, to the receipts of the transaction, and from there you would subsidize that whenever there is a problem. And obviously, guys, if you the problem with subsidy, of course, is that when you have reached a certain stage, when you become richer, you would not be eligible for the subsidy anymore. That's what's happening in America, right? You don't want this to happen. You want to keep on subsidizing, even though people have already become prosperous. So, I mean, it is not based on prosperity, it is not based on poverty, but based on contribution. And people have missed out on this concept of the merit of presence. There's merit in presence, and it is not natural, actually it is not natural to have these communities being wiped out like that. This is because you don't acknowledge the merit of presence. And it is not socialistic, please guys, I want to distance myself from that. It came from merit, it is meritocratic. And these transactions actually made up the government, which in turn is making up the currency. You might say, oh, in the future we could live without them. Maybe, but isn't it? Can you imagine piracy? Can would what has piracy brought us into? Like great stuff, the internet, we got everything, right? The internet has boosted our lifestyle by a lot. But look at the art that is happening right now. What look at the movies. How many like a lot of people got Netflix, that's fine. What about the studio? What about the movies? Going into the movies, going into the malls. There's a problem, right? And people would have a problem in acquiring income, because they would say, oh, it's a matter of exposure, I will give you exposure instead of giving you money. What, right? That's a manifestation of piracy. And that is the same way also with favoring what seems to be cheap. If you're someone who has a lot of money, right, not giving thanks, not doing take and give, but getting cheap stuff all the time, maybe something that is very accessible for you. But if you got to pay careful attention to that, it's okay if it's reciprocal, but if it didn't came from reciprocal place in whatever shape or form, I believe if you are an executive or rich people like that, I don't have to explain to you the nitty gritty. You would be able to imagine that quickly, or maybe not quickly, maybe different, you are specialized in a different thing, but you would have access to that details. Okay, but if it is not reciprocal, yes, it's being handed out to you in a silver platter, and everyone wants to offer their best services to you, or at least the cheapest service as they could give out to you, because you are perceived to be the source of all of these resources, right? They all want to be a part of your symphony. Totally, like why wouldn't you selling it more expensive, meaning making it more expensive, because you have limited resources, limited attention span. Of course you will jack up the price if there are a lot of demands. That's just supply and demand law. But a way you could make it more sustainable is to see where the reciprocal element is, because when you take and give with those that are not, um, which is in a way that is not meritocratic, right? it could be it could stuck, it could not generate innovation, which in turn you don't the banks is not going to have excuses anymore to give out credit. You just have to rent now. You cannot get more credit. Why? Because in essence, justly speaking, yes, you can do that, but it's going to break the economy, right? People are just going to have these artificially high property prices when um, when it is all artificial, right? There are no innovation when credit is being given for the sake of innovation, right? Because you want to get that innovation kicked into the economy. That's without innovation, you just don't give credit, guys. You don't, guys. Listen to me, guys. Believe me, bro. If you don't have innovation in the economy, don't give out credit. It's already like balancing out. It's gonna have a, what do you call it, balance of the economy, equilibrium. Is going to seek for an equilibrium. If there are no new innovation coming in, there is no reason to break that if equilibrium. There's bound to be a failure in the credit, maybe not directly, but maybe it's going to have a chain reaction to the other one. Maybe not you is the one who's going to suffer, you and your creditor, the debtor and creditor directly, but it will be shifted out into a different place. In turn, these guys that are receiving all of this impact is going to sue you, or maybe this is going to voice their objection, and in turn you would have to be responsible for it because it is related to your policies. So it is all interconnected, right? So if you don't have any innovation, you don't give out credit. And what the innovation that I'm talking about is to increase the baseline, right? Not decrease the baseline. Because so the innovation that came from piracy is not circling the economy. Can you get this? The innovation, the new innovation that came not out of take and give, it's just piracy, right? Like, let's say, for example, Microsoft Windows. You pirated Microsoft Windows, new technology, Microsoft Windows. Everybody else is not using Microsoft Windows. You are the one who uses Microsoft Windows. You are very efficient, very fast, compared to the other ones. But you yourself is not giving to Microsoft. So this culture is going to encourage other people to do the same way. And in the end, it is not just Microsoft that is not being paid, it's everything else. Everyone expects to do things like that. And that's going to break the economy. Yes, some people are going to get monopoly, or a lot of monopolies, but as I said, rich people only have limited attention span, and they're just going to increase the price, increase the price, increase the price for everyone else, and everyone else is just going to want to go to them, go to them, go to them, because no one else left. No one else left. So, but let's say you got Microsoft Windows, but you paid back the price that is higher than the cost, right? There's a cost and there's a revenue. So let's say this is not like that unicorn culture is sucks. Unicorn culture sucks because they sell things below cost. Let's say Microsoft not selling things below cost, right? And you give thanks, or you just trade, usual normal trading with Microsoft. And then is your price might be better than the other competitors, but it's still you are paying something. And what am I going to say? And when other people are trying to copy you, they will be looking at Ubuntu, they will be looking at Linux, and they will have some plus and minuses, and they will think, and they will do, you know what, I can do this, I can do that, to make it cheaper. I could, and this is the key, right? I could contact these people. These people were predecessors of Microsoft. These people are these, like also contributors, and they are doing this now. And for example, something like that. It is not. It is like sugar. It's not like sugar, but it's more like carbs, right? Sugar is like a rush, right? Sugar rush. Pa, 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 it's too quick. But carbs is introducing the sugar more gradually, and it will be incorporated more gradually and will encompasses more circuits. But it's even more better if you do keto, right? Keto, you starve something of instant subsidies, but because everything else is also being starved, everyone's innovating, and they discover the alternative solution, which is ketones. From ketones, it will make a different kind of energy that is more healthy, and you maybe switch on and off to sugar every once in a while, but you know what's best now for you. So things like that, guys. I mean, how am I going to convince you, and unless you actually try to do it? But this is the problem, guys. I think if you want to solve this problem, what you want to do is to look at the receipts of the people, and from there you would introduce the carbs, right? You would introduce routine subsidies, that will make people hooked up more in their own community, and in turn they would be they would be having an economy, a circuit, and that is a lot better than just instant spending with no circuit, with no work. Because current work, guys, in my opinion, in a lot of spots, in a lot of aspects, could be at the wrong price. It's too cheap, too expensive. It is at the wrong price. It's not creating a circuit. This is, I think, where policymakers could make a distinction, guys. So you look at the price. If it is a wrong price, don't encourage it. Okay, from this point of view, it's too expensive. From that point of view, it's too cheap. That one, you don't want to encourage it. You want to figure out the right price, a price where um, things will sustain itself. Okay, and then what else? What else can I do to encourage even more sprouting of that economy in that place? For example, in order to heal that place, I would also I would I mean, if that is already the case, I guess if people have already left and people would already have different things to do, it's pretty hard. You would have to have a different people in, but that wouldn't be the same way anymore. But if you still have the same people, you could encourage them based on their history. Maybe that could help, but I do admit there's a chance that it is the solution, but there's a chance also that it is not enough. So what other ways you could encourage it? I believe their solution is already pretty good. A lady there talk about musicians, local musicians having a fair or an event, local event, to strengthen the community. That is also very nice. Yes, I mean, I think the community knows what what they are doing. Actually, deep down, the community actually knows what they are doing, but it is just that the government needs not to interfere, or the government needs to pay attention to some impacts that was not being considered, and this is one of them: the usage of piracy. I'm not saying like globalization is all bad, but but the way it's supposed to work is that globalization will only work for some people. For the people where it is not working yet, they could rely on their own community, their own people. But now no, because the best people is selling it cheap to this global network. You don't have to do that. There are more rewards locally. Okay, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.